Hello, everybody. Thank you for coming, for showing up live to our celebration event. Today, we celebrate finishing our 26th round of daily gratitude Tehillim and the kickoff of round 27. If you aren't familiar with our group, please allow me to share our vision. We say one psalm a day in gratitude for all the blessing Hashem showers upon us. HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives us so many blessings. We just have to open up our eyes to see what they are. We ask people to think about 5 new things to be grateful for each day when they say our Psalm of the day. We start with Psalm 1 and then chronologically say the entire book of Tehillim. And then when we're finished with the entire book of Tehillim, we have a celebration shiur or class lecture that we share with everybody. One more detail you should know about us. This is a no pressure group, no obligation. You don't have to say the Psalm of the day. Just whenever you have time from the comfort of your own home, just say the Psalm. It's better to say a few of them than none of them, but a lot of people say all 150. Sometimes they catch up when they're behind. It's really beautiful. Also, we send out daily email reminders if you sign up for our email list, and each email reminder has the historical background of each psalm, which makes it very interesting, so you can really learn the psalms in depth. You can find out more about us at dailygratitudetehillim.com or contact Shandy or myself and we'll sign you up. We'd love to have you. We're starting our new round on Friday, so you can join with us from Psalm number 1 and go through all 150 Psalms with us. I'm so excited tonight because we are partnering with ANEINU, and which is run by Shandy Capel, and she was one of my inspirations for Tehillim, and she's the one who found Rabbi Sytner, who suggested him as our speaker. And so Shandy's going to introduce herself, tell us about ANEINU, and introduce the rabbi.
Oh, beautiful. Beautiful, Lori. Wow. Lori, first of all, mazel tov to you and to your group. It's really awesome what you took upon yourself, how you started this. I remember when you started, and really kol hakavod lach, and to all your women, it's beautiful. And you definitely are giving the Eibishter a lot of nachas, and that's really what it boils down to. We can spend a whole shiur talking about Tehillim, which is not the topic tonight, but what ANEINU does is we've divided Tehillim into booklets. We've, especially before COVID, we had a lot of groups saying Tehillim in a group setting, finishing it. And even before COVID, really the Gaza War of 2014, Gaza War of 2019, we are now, in addition to that, saying Tehillim twice a day, every day on our line. It's really, really amazing. And just one point I want to bring out about the Tehillim, we all know it's holy, it's kadosh beyond anything we can imagine what David HaMelech put into it, and for the daily Tehillim ANEINU group, daily gratitude women, and for our ANEINU women, I always tell our women, we get a special reward for consistency. The carbon tamid, a special sacrifice that was given in the Beis HaMikdash twice a day. There is a special reward for that. Besides the reward for saying Tehillim, we should just know that Hashem loves when we do a mitzvah on a consistent basis. And so both of our groups fulfill that. And Hashem should answer all our tefillas, whether you say for gratitude, for whatever we say, for peace in the world, for cholim. There's so much to say to Tehillim. Tehillim is the fuel that Hashem uses to make the world run. So mazel tov to all the daily gratitude Tehillim women. And now Rabbi Sytner, we're so excited, honored, privileged to host Rabbi Sytner tonight. And just before the introduction, for the bio, I just want to say I'm a fellow Torontonian. Rabbi Sytner is the Rav of the village shul in Toronto. And I just want to say, Rabbi Sytner, I grew up in Toronto. I'm older than you. And there was no village shul 30, 40 years ago. And there were not even any from people where the village shul is now. I know that for a fact. It was a very conservative area. And you come to Toronto and you hear about Rabbi Sytner. So that in itself is like, he's just amazing what he's done in Toronto. But his bio is amazing. He's a rabbi, he's a therapist, he's a motivational speaker on all sorts of topics, especially discovering your self-identity and achieving personal greatness. He has delivered inspiring lectures worldwide, South Africa, Australia, Chile, the US, and Canada. You can find him online. He's a popular video blog and podcast on aish.com, and it's viewed by over 8,500 people a month. Rabbi Sytner grew up in Los Angeles and is the senior rabbi, as I said, of the Village Shul and Torah Learning Center in Toronto, and doing amazing, amazing things in my hometown. Rabbi Sytner received smicha from Rav Yitzchak Berkowitz in Yerushalayim. He has a BA in liberal studies, a master's degree in education, and a master's degree in marriage and family therapy. And if you want to learn more about Rabbi Sytner, you can find him on his fabulous website, www.tzvisytner.com. Wow. Wow. All I can say, Rabbi Sytner, is Hashem should give you koach to continue avodas hakodesh and just make the world a better place. Tonight's topic, very, very special, a skill for life, being mevatar. How, what, where, and when. And so now, without further ado, please, Rabbi Sytner.
Wow, that introduction, I got to tell you, that was quite the intro. I'm listening to that. I'm like, who are they talking about anyway? That was quite the introduction. Thank you for that. I actually, the feeling is a little bit, I think the other way around. My feeling is, as I'm listening to you and as I'm hearing about these two organizations, I'm the one who's like in awe. I feel like I'm to be in your presence tonight. Two incredible organizations, daily gratitude. Like who says Tehillim daily just out of gratitude? And ANEINU, and that you have almost 30 years of thousands of Tehillim that are said of Kapitlach Tehillim, Nashim Tzidkanias all around the globe. I mean, it's amazing. So, to me, I'm like, okay, so here I am talking to people that talk to Hashem. Like I talk to people and tell them to talk to Hashem, but you guys actually talk to Hashem. Like that's a big deal. In all seriousness, I find it very inspiring. I really do. So Yashikach to Mrs. Capel and Mrs. Young, it's Hashem should be mechazeki to continue to spread this the inspiration, the learning, the tehillim, the davening, and to continue to bring zchus into all of Klal Yisrael. We need it. So Tiskel mitzvos Yashikach. Okay, tonight's topic. Let me start off with this. My older brother, who I look up to dearly, he used to be a rabbi in Charleston, South Carolina, of the Orthodox shul there. And he told me one time, is everybody here familiar with the term bageling? You know what the term bageling means? No, bageling, you know what the bageling is?
No.
Bageling is when you have like a Jew who's not necessarily recognizably Jewish, but he wants you to know that he's Jewish. Okay, so I'll give you an example. This is what happened to my brother. He's at this gas station in Charleston, and a guy walks up to him and he goes, "Shalom." Right? That's called bageling. Right? When somebody you wouldn't have known he was Jewish, but he wants to let you know he's a Jew. So my brother says, "Oh, shalom, are you Jewish?" He says, "Yes, I am." So they get into a whole conversation. My brother says, "I'm the rabbi of the shul here. You should come to the shul." So the guy says, "Oh no, Rabbi, I don't do organized religion." And my brother says, "Don't worry about it. There's nothing organized about us. Trust me." Right? So this is classic shalom. It is probably one of the most famous forms of bageling. Okay, but shalom is not just a word that we use to bagel somebody. It's not just a word we use to let somebody know we're Jewish. It is probably the fibers of our being of every single Yid, starting with how we greet each other. We take it for granted that we say shalom, oh, shalom aleichem, aleichem shalom. We take it for granted. We're so used to the word. When you begin to look at like how all the other nations of the world greet each other, right? I don't know if you ever studied this, but like the word hello, same word as hola, right? Say in Spanish, what does it mean? What does hello mean? Literally, if you look at the etymology, it means whoa there. That's what it means, right? In Chinese, when they say ni hao, right? Not that I speak Chinese, but that means are you good, right? These different forms of how different nations of the world greet each other, none of them use what we use. Nobody says shalom. I think somebody has to mute themselves, by the way, or you can mute somebody. Nobody does that, right? For us, shalom is at the center. And we see this all over, right? Shmona Esrei. We know Shmona Esrei is the climactic point of davening. And at the climactic point, at the final bracha, Hamvorech Esam Yisrael Bas Shalom. We know that the Zohar says, Shema Dekutshu Brichu Ikri Shalom, that Hashem's name is Shalom. Shabbos Ikri Shalom. Shabbos is called Shalom. The Torah, we say Derachel, right? Derachel, Darachino, right? V'chol Nesiv Shalom. I'm not going to sing it for you. We say V'chol Nesiv Shalom. That all of the Torah's ways are Shalom. The Torah is called Shalom. The bracha that the Kohanim give us and that we give our children, V'yasem Lecha Shalom. We're always doing this. What do we say? There's a Chazal that says, Lo Matza HaKadosh Baruch Hu Kli Machzik Bracha Ela Shalom. Right? There's not going to be a kli. There will be no vessel in life to be able to receive bracha in our lives without shalom. We always say that every single Jew is supposed to be mitalmidav shel Aaron, ohev shalom v'rodev shalom. There's a Rashi in Vayikra that says, Im ein shalom ein klum. If you don't have shalom, you have nothing. Shalom it's not just our greeting. It's not just we use to bagel each other. It's at the fibers, the center of so many parts of Yiddishkeit. Now, I want to read to you one more. It's unbelievable. It's Chazal say, Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yisrael. I saw this in Sefer Chavetz Chaim. He says, Al Torah. He says, B'ni ohavai. Hashem says, my child, my beloved. Klum chasarti davar shavakesh mekem. There's nothing that I lack in life. Hashem says, I have everything. And there's nothing that I need to request of you. I don't need to request anything of you, says Hashem. Umani mevakish mechem. So what do I ask of you? Ela shetiyu ovim zelazeh. You should love each other. You should honor each other. You shouldn't have aveira. You shouldn't have gezel. You should treat each other with ava, chesed. Love each other. We should have shalom. This is what Hashem wants from us. I actually once heard somebody say that, when it comes to our homes, we always say you should have Shalom Bias, right? Somebody once told me, goes, in life, it's either Shalom Bias or Shalom Bias, right? You got to have Shalom Bias. Someone else once told me, if you want Shalom, buy it. It's a good rule. Okay, this is all very nice. But what does Shalom really mean? And you'll see why I'm opening up talking about shalom. You're going to see the connection to vatranas. What does shalom really mean? So I think the world has a pretty messed up definition of shalom. That's what I think. I remember I was once talking to a secular Israeli, and the topic of Hashem and Judaism came up, Torah, mitzvahs. And he says to me, I have a special deal with Hashem. I said, what's your deal? He says, he don't bother me, I don't bother him, we don't talk, and we have shalom. That sounds very nice. Is that shalom? Is that shalom? Don't talk to me, I don't talk to you. Right? You hear people do this all the time. They come back from Israel. They spend a nice time in Israel. And how are things in Israel? Good, it's quiet now. Right now, there's peace in the Middle East. Right now, there's shalom. Really? Things are peaceful? Or is that what we mean when we say that there's nothing happening at this moment? Like currently nobody's stabbing anyone, so that's called peace. Things are peaceful in the Middle East? Or is that just war waiting to happen? It's passive aggressive. Right? That's not shalom. The fact that two people aren't stabbing each other or screaming at each other, fighting, the world around us will say, oh, it's peaceful. It's not peace. Imagine a husband and wife, right? I don't talk to you, you don't talk to me. And that's called Shalom Bias. Chas v'shalom. Chas v'shalom. I can't believe I just said that. Chas v'shalom. There we go again. Shalom. Right? Shalom doesn't mean a lack of fighting. This idea that we don't agree with each other, but we're not fighting, and that's called shalom. That's not shalom. So what is shalom for real? And what's the connection to vatranas? So another place that we mention shalom, we say, Oseh shalom b'mroimav hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Right? Oseh shalom b'mroimav, right? Hashem makes shalom b'maromav, up in Shemayim. You ever pause? We say this every single Kaddish. Oseh shalom b'mroimav hu yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol yisrael b'mroimav. We always say this. What does that mean? Hashem is making shalom b'mroimav. Is there someone fighting up in Shemayim that Hashem is making shalom? It's not my kasha, the Nesiva Shalom. There we go again. I didn't even think about that one. The Nesiva Shalom, Rav Shalom Noch Brzezowski, from the Slonim Chasidim. He called himself the Nesiva Shalom, calls the Sefer. But the Nesiva Shalom says this. He asked the question, why do we say, oh, so Shalom b'mroimav, Hashem makes Shalom up in Shemayim? So we just think about this. Again, perhaps to suggest this idea. Every malach in Shemayim has a different agenda. Right? And their agendas may actually even be opposite of each other. They may be doing very different things. Right? For one, the malach is sent to make the grass grow. On the other, why? Because it's summertime. Another malach on the other side of the world where it's winter, he's being sent to make sure that the grass dies, the plants die, it's winter. One malach is sent to bring a refuah. A malach hamavas is sent to take somebody out of this world. One malach is sent to give someone an isayo. Another malach is sent to help somebody out of an isayo. You have all these malachim up in Shemayim. Are they all doing the same thing? Are they all aligned and thinking the same and doing the same? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. They're all doing different things, some of them contrary to the other. And yet they could all these malachim, could all sing Shiva together. Even though they're so different. They all, quote unquote, have a good relationship, if you will. Even though you could say they don't agree. Each one's doing their own shlichus. Each one is on their own path, doing their own thing. What they're told to do, what they're supposed to do. What does it mean? Oseh shalom b'mromav. Hashem makes shalom in Shemayim. Does it mean that every single malach, everyone's doing the same? Shalom means we all have to think alike. Shalom means we all have to act alike. Shalom means we all have to agree. Definitely not. This malach does this malach does this, and they do not agree. So what's the shalom? The shalom is that even though they're doing different things, there's a synergy. They're all moving the same direction. I want to elaborate on what this means. And this week I had I think it was yesterday. Yesterday, I had a tremendous honor. One of my balabatim, he's not yet from. He asked me to come down to his house to help him put up a mezuzah. It's the first time in his life. He never, ever put up a mezuzah before in his life, ever. First time he ever put up a mezuzah. So I went and we put it up, and I'm telling you, I think I was more uplifted than he was. And as we're leaving, I'm standing by the front door. I turned to him, I said, Gregory, do you ever wonder why the mezuzah is on a slant? He said, actually, I don't know why. Why do we have it on a slant? I said to him, well, actually, according to Rashi, the mezuzah should be vertical. But according to Rabbeinu Tam, Rashi's grandson, mezuzah should be horizontal. Now I told him, I said, in halacha, when we have two different opinions, we usually either hold like this opinion or that opinion. But we rarely ever say, let's find some middle ground. Let's get shalom and let's do a little bit of this guy and a little bit of that guy. Okay, you can't have meat and you can't have milk, but let's have a little bit of, right? No. Is it asur or mutter? Is it kosher or what is it? But all of a sudden here, we say we want to be yotze both opinions. And so we have the mezuzah slanted. And as we stood there at the entrance of his house, next to the mezuzah on a slant, I said to him, perhaps the message of why one of these few places that we see us compromising in halacha, finding some type of middle ground to fulfill both Rashi and his grandson's opinion, is because when it comes to our home, when it comes to our house, we have to have compromise. We have to have shalom. Compromise comes when you're able to let it go. I remember when I was engaged, my Rabbi Itzkowitz, said to me, he said, he was trying to teach me a powerful lesson. He said to me, what do you do if your wife wants to go on vacation to Eretz Yisrael, but you really, really, really want to go on vacation to Florida? What do you do? So I said, I don't know. What? He said, you compromise. I said, how do you compromise? I mean, do you land in the ocean? Like, how do you compromise? Halfway there? He said, no, you compromise. You go to Eretz Yisrael. I said, how's that a compromise? That's called giving in. He said, right. That's called being mevatar. And it's a compromise because she gets to go to Eretz Yisrael and you get what you really want, which is a happy wife. And that can only happen. That vatranus can only happen if we're working towards the essence of shalom, which is shleimus. Shleimus. If my goal in life is to grow, to perfect myself, to work towards shleimus, then I can achieve shalom. And that's where vatranas, that's where being mevatar comes in. What does it mean to be mevatar? Being mevatar means that we're working towards shleimus. How? By exercising the strength to do what the other person wants instead of what I want. I personally, my personal goal, I want to work towards shleimus. This is what I'm putting in this world. Adam la'amal yulad. I'm here to work. This is my goal. How am I going to do it? Well, one of the ways is going to be vatranas. I'm going to learn to be mevatar. I'm going to muster up the inner strength and conviction, determination to do what you want, even though it's not what I want. Because I want to be big. As we say, Ezehu Gibor, who's big, who's mighty, who's strong? Hakovesh es Yitzra. Someone who can look at what they want and get past themselves. They can conquer with their own desire, and instead, I want to do what you want. That's called compromise. That's called shalom. Shalom doesn't mean we're all going to agree. Absolutely not. That's not shalom. Shalom is going to mean that I'm going to work on myself towards shleimus, so much so that we can come together and have a good relationship, even though we don't agree. even though we're not on the same page at all. This is what it means to have shalom. This is what, and really the key is vatranus. So to look at what I have in my life and say, this is what I want. Can I get past myself for the sake of something bigger? Can I put myself aside for the sake of this relationship? Because if I can do what you want, then two things happen. You get what makes you happy. I get a good relationship, a happy spouse, partner, business partner, whatever. And I get what I really want, which is achieving just a little bit more shleimus in my life. Every time we exercise the very, very difficult task of putting our own desire aside for the sake of someone else, we're achieving tremendous amounts in the world of shleimus. We're growing leaps and bounds towards our own self-perfection. And it really helps in every area. A person, if you can master this, so then in every relationship, it's incredible what could happen in every single relationship. Your marriage, your parenting, your work relationships, friendships, because we're always going to have differences. The question is, are those differences going to make the relationship or break the relationship? And if you can be the person to say, you know what, let it go. It's all good, right? It's all good. That's vatranas. Because you're working towards shleimus. And that's what brings shalom. I want to share two tips with you that I think can help make vatranas just a little bit easier. And it's perhaps something that you can employ when you find yourself in a situation where you're not seeing eye to eye with the other person. You want one thing, the other person wants another thing. Or you have one opinion and you feel passionate about it, and someone else has another opinion and you think they're so wrong, right? What do you do in those situations? Is that going to break the relationship? Well, it could. We see this all the time. Okay, so here are the two suggestions. Number one is that in the world we live in, we don't know how to separate the person from the opinion. Meaning to say that when somebody wants to do something and we think it is wrong, you are crazy, that's ridiculous. What do? We tend to flush the baby with the bathwater, right? Where, you know what, that opinion is nuts, and so you're nuts. But sometimes people could even be driven towards hatred because of the conclusions that someone else came to. Now, so what do? So you pause, and here it is, a beautiful little tool. You ask yourself the question, in your life, I'll ask myself, in my life, Sytner, have I ever been wrong? Have I ever come to the wrong conclusion? Have I ever been in a situation where I was sure about something? I knew I was right, but it turned out that I was wrong? Of course. Think about times when you say, something simple like, I know I left my keys here. I know I left my keys here. I'm telling you, I put my keys right here, right? Or I know I put my glasses down. They were right here. I know I did. I'm telling you, somebody must have. And then all of a sudden you find them in your pocket, right? But what happened? But you were sure you were right. So what happened? At that time, when you were sure you were right, but you turned out to be wrong, did you completely dismiss yourself? Did you completely write yourself off and say, you know what, Sytner, I'm never going to talk to you ever again? Did you tell yourself you're never going to talk to yourself ever again? Of course you didn't do that. But you made a mistake, didn't you? Well, I guess I did. But you're able to forgive. You're able to forgive. You're able to let your own mistakes go because you say, you know what, I'm human. I can make a mistake. It's fine. It happens. So you didn't write yourself off. So if we can be tolerant of myself and my own mistakes, then why can't I do the same with you? And we remind ourselves, you know what? I've done this before. I've made mistakes. I think you're wrong. I still think you're wrong. But I've been wrong too. And I'm not going to write you off, just like I didn't write myself off when I was wrong. Shalom doesn't mean that we're going to agree on everything. We don't have to agree. I can still think you're wrong, but it doesn't mean I have to write you off because of it, just like I don't do it to myself. I'll share one more with you. One more little tip that I think is so powerful. I see this in sports all the time. Right? I'm not a sports fan myself, but here in Toronto, if you live in Toronto, you grew up in Toronto, you are a Maple Leafs fan. You love the Leafs. Everyone's a Maple Leafs fan. If you're from Montreal, you're a Habs fan. I don't even know what Habs stands for, but it stands for something, okay? So if you're born in Montreal, you are a diehard Habs fan. If you're born in Toronto, you are a diehard Leafs fan. Ask a Montrealer, will you ever become a Leafs fan? Never! Ask a Leafs fan, will you ever become a Montreal Habs fan? Never! Now, I did this recently. I asked a Habs fan, if you were born in Toronto, do you think you'd be a Leafs fan? And he said, yeah, probably. And ask a Torontonian, if you were born in Montreal, would you be a Habs fan? And they say, yeah, probably. Right? I'm Ashkenazi. I like Ashkenaz food. I'm not the biggest fan of Sephardic food. Sephardim probably like Sephardic food better than they like gefilte fish. But if you were born in an Ashkenaz family with Ashkenaz food, you probably would like Ashkenaz food better. And if I was born eating Sephardi food my whole life, I probably would like Sephardi food. Why am I telling you this? Because when you meet that person and you're like, you're nuts, you're crazy, I don't understand, how could you, right? And you just don't understand how somebody could think that or do that or what. And you go, hold on a second. I don't agree with you, and I'm not going to start agreeing with you. But one thing I know is I'm not going to write you off. Because if I was born in your shoes, with your family, your experience, in your community, I probably would think the way you're thinking too. You're still wrong, but I'm able to be mevatar. I'm able to let it go. Why? Because I can't hold it against you. If I was born you, I probably would think the way you're thinking. I want to just conclude with a story or two. The story they tell of this farmer, he had a little donkey. One day his donkey was standing up on the edge of the well and he falls in. And everybody hears this donkey crying at the bottom of the well. Donkey's crying for hours and hours and hours. They feel terrible. They're trying to get him out. They're trying to rope him, but they can't. Eventually they realize it's been 16 hours in the bottom of the well. The donkey's going to starve to death because we can't get him out. So they feel bad. They don't want to make him suffer. Slow death. So they decide, let's put him out of his misery. And all the farmers begin to shovel dirt into the well. Let's cover him up. Let's not make him suffer. And as the dirt is coming into this well, the donkey begins to realize what's happening. Oh my gosh, they're burying me alive. So everybody is pouring dirt in. And eventually the well gets quiet. No more crying, no more braying. The donkey's not making any more noise. And the farmers look down the well and they see the donkey is standing on top of this massive pile of dirt. Because every time they put another shovel of dirt on top of him, he shook it off and stepped on top of the pile. And every time they put another pile of dirt on top of him, he shook it off and stepped up again. And he kept stepping up on top of the dirt, on top of shaking it off and stepping up until he was at the top of the well. And then he jumped right over the wall and ran away. And this is us. Get into these arguments with people. We get into these debates. We go head to head. And if we have the ability to be mevatar, to shake it off, to let it go, what we're doing for ourselves is actually stepping up. We're stepping up. Every time you shake it off, you're stepping up. You're working a little bit closer towards shleimus. Every time we exercise vatranas, we're working a little closer towards shleimus. It elevates us. I heard this beautiful story of these two brothers. Two brothers, they worked together, they were very close their whole life until they unfortunately had a major falling out. And one of them said, you know what, I'm moving out. And he moved out of the house. He went out across the hill. There was a valley. He went on the other side of the valley and he moved into this other house on the other side of the valley. And one of the brothers was so mad. He said, you know what I'm going to do? He went up to there was a dam. He broke the dam and this valley between them became a river full of flowing water. Now my brother, he says, is never going to come next to me. He's never going to walk up to me. He's never going to come near me ever again because we have a river between us. So the other brother says, you think you're going to get me by making a river between us? Watch this. He calls a carpenter. He tells the carpenter, I want you to build a wall, a 10-foot wall on my side of the river, so high that I'll never see my brother's face or his house ever again. So the carpenter realizes, he sees the situation, understands what's going on. And he says, okay, no problem. Give me a day. So the carpenter goes down to the river and he's hammering and building and cutting and sawing and building and building and building. 16 hours go by. He comes back up to the house, knocks on the door. The guy comes out. He says, okay, I'm done. You want to come see it? He says, sure, I want to come see. So he looks, he takes him to the river. And instead of a giant wall, the carpenter had built a bridge. And who's walking across the bridge? His brother. And the brother says, I don't believe it. After everything I did, after I created a river between us, you built a bridge to reconnect. And he looks at the carpenter and the carpenter winks and he says, yeah. And they come together. In life, we have the ability to build walls or to build bridges. Our goal, our job is as much as we feel like building a wall, as much as that fire is burning to create a river or build a wall, to get past that, to push through it, and to build a bridge. That's vatranus. That's working towards shleimus. We should be zocha mirtz Hashem to be able to really build, strengthen, be mechazik all of our relationships, be it in family, marriage, parents, kids, friends, work, wherever it may be. But to be able to exercise and to be able to muster up, to dig down deep and pull out that inner strength to be mevatar and just to let it go. And through this, in Mirz Hashem, we should see the rebuilding of the Beis HaMikdash from Rabbi ANEINU. Amen.
Amen. That's really beautiful. Thank you so much. Really beautiful.
Very welcome. And thank you again for this tremendous, tremendous schus.
Thank you. It was beautiful. It's our schus. It was our schus.
If anybody has questions, you can raise your hand or come off mute. I just wanted to ask the rabbi something first. First of all, thank you again. And when somebody, so you have the option to go to Israel or to go to Florida. And the person who says, obviously you're not going to go to Maine to compromise because then nobody's happy. But when you say, okay, let's go to Israel, and you're saying that you're getting the higher thing of what you really want, which is closer to Shalom and Shleimus, and you are getting what you want. You're not giving in. You're getting what you really want, which is a really high level of making a relationship. Is that right?
That is correct.
Okay, because giving in is a really like a negative thing for people. Feels like a negative thing, and then they harbor resentment. And you give in too many times, you're not happy. But if you're doing what you really want to do, which is have the real shalom. It's so beautiful. I wanted to tell people about this book. It's called The Power to Give In, Stories About Being MEVATAR, and it explains MEVATAR in marriage, in relationships, in business, and it's just a tremendous book. It's by Rabbi Moshe Rakov, and it's a Feldheim book. So I wanted to recommend that. And I wanted to recommend one more book, and that is The Interlinear Tehillim. I can't quite get it. Okay. It has the English and Hebrew written together so that when you say your Tehillim, you know exactly what you're saying when you read the Hebrew. So Art Scroll makes it. And I just wanted to let people know that that's available. Did anybody have any questions for the rabbi or comments? Just take yourself off mute. And anybody want to say?
You know what I like to do? I find that the women are shy. You know what? Some ladies just put yourself on mute, unmute, and just thank the rabbi. He doesn't need a question because he explained it so well. We don't have time for like another, another session. But just thank him so he knows that you were actually listening and, and you loved it.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Thank you. It was a tremendous. Appreciate it.
I'm from Milwaukee. Lori, hello. I'm the one that reminds you when you don't send out our psalms. And this was so wonderful. I just feel at peace after I listen to you talk.
Yes, Rabbi Sytner has a website, tzvi.sytner.com. And I was listening today while I was doing some things to his podcast. So you can get a lot of really lovely, great Torah inspiration if you go to tzvi.sytner.com.
Can you just send that to me in the email?
Yes, Michael wants to say something. Go ahead, Michael.
Rabbi, I received the daily email from aish.com, so I always listen to your Divrei Torah. They're short, but they're great, 3, 4, 5 minutes. As I listen to also Rabbi Shiner at the Palm Beach Orthodox Synagogue here in Florida. But the last one that you gave, on thank you, where people don't say thank you. And you got to try to be, let that go. I mean, I was brought up in my family, although I wasn't brought up in a religious home. I was brought up in a very proper type home where I was brought up to always say thank you and please and whatnot. But, your conclusion on saying thank you, if someone doesn't say thank you to you and you really expect somebody to say thank you, to let that go is just a rough thing. And, in my heart, where I wasn't brought up that way. I always say thank you and please, and that's a rough one to do.
It definitely sure is.
Thank you very much. Your speech was beautiful. I really loved it.
You're very welcome.
Very nice
Thank you, and thank you again.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
I'm going to stop recording now. So thank you. Bye.